Welcome to the Church of Thomas. Copernicus, 729-11. 500 years ago, the Catholic Church put one of the first scientists, thinkers, on a list of heretics. Now, just recently, they have removed this label of heretic, but it is indicative of the way that the founding churches saw religion as a threat to their authority that is important. When we look at people who decide that if it is written down, it can never change, it can never be enlightened, it is rejecting one of God's largest gifts. When the Church of Thomas looks at spirituality and reason, we see it as a team of two horses working together to accomplish what we need to in this world. Without having them working together, we're rejecting one of the largest gifts that God ever gave us, the ability to reason, to observe, to look at the world and come to conclusions based on what we have observed, tested, hypothesized about, and then tested again. And if these tests show up to not be repeatable, we have to rethink. But when ideas themselves are squashed, like Copernicus, his controversial idea was the idea that the earth was not the center of the universe. I mean, after all, God chose us. God made the earth for us. God made this the center of the earth. Therefore, it cannot be any other way. Now, the stars and planets moved, so they must be circling us, was how the early church saw it. Copernicus came up with the idea that maybe the sun was the center and we were circling it. Now, this really put him in bad odor with the Catholic Church, and they started labeling him a heretic. He could have been killed. But I think it is good that we reassess periodically. We used to think that the earth was flat. Now, what's funny is all the navigators who plied their trade of merchandising on the oceans figured this out a long time ago, that if they went 7 or 8 miles out into the water, they couldn't see land anymore. If the world was flat, they should still be able to see that mountain in the distance, but they couldn't. This was reasoning. This was part of the idea that the people who were mariners knew that the world wasn't flat after a point. But the early church felt that the earth was flat because that's all they had ever known. But they weren't using reason, and they weren't updating their ideas with the testing of hypothesis. In the Church of Thomas, we welcome the idea of thinking and asking questions. When we understand things, God will let us understand them. When we think we have the right idea, we have a way of doing it. We can test it. We can set up an experiment that lets us figure out if what we're thinking is just smoke in the wind, or if there may be a kernel of something there that's interesting that we should maybe investigate further. But Copernicus did that, and he was blamed for it. If Copernicus had squashed his ideas, kept them all to himself, decided not to share them, he would have been hiding his light under a basket. And here is the quote for today. Mark 4:21 and 22. He said to them, "Do not bring a lamp and put it under a bowl or a bed. Instead, don't you put it on your stand? For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the light. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear this." Reason is our way of bringing the light from out of the bowl or under the bed or from hiding, to disclose what we didn't know until we questioned it. Questioning is very important in the Church of Thomas. It's encouraged, and I think it is the way that we can harness the spiritual sides of ourselves with the reasoning sides of ourselves. God bless the whole world, no exceptions. Angel of Light.